Hey everyone, welcome to GMIHub Online. So glad that you were able to join us again. Hope you had a great week. This week we're going to have an interesting conversation, a lot based on some stats that we've received um, through a presentation, at least that I've heard over with a presentation. But before we do that, before we introduce who our guests are going to be, I'd like to introduce our co-host, Dale Borland. Dale, how you doing? You have to unmute yourself, bud. Unmute.
Let
Unmute.
me just see. I'm totally professional. I know exactly what I'm doing. Okay. Wow. Quality streaming. Okay, here we go. All right. So, hey, thank you so much for joining us. This is an amazing opportunity today as we're going to have a great conversation. But also, I wanted to remind you if this is your first time visiting us on YouTube, just hit that like button, a thumbs up. That'd be great. And subscribe, please, if you haven't done it already. And also hit the notification bell so you'll know the next time we upload a video. It'd be so cool to have you connected with us in another way, and that is going to our website, www.gmihub.ca. I got it right the first time. gmihub.ca. And check us out on our social platforms. We got Twitch, we got YouTube, we got
Facebook.
TikTok, Facebook. Yeah, it's just check us out. At GMI Hub. We'd love to have you connect with us. It's really important because we want you to connect with us as we connect with you. So we want to help you. If you're an artist, or if you're a producer, or if you're someone who's into the industry and you want to be communicating with somebody who's very, very excited about what's happening in the music industry, drop us an email on our website. It's gmihub.ca. You can go in there. You can drop us an email. We have a once a month newsletter which goes out. It's called Hub Happenings, and it's coming your way if you give us your email. And not only will we send you that every month, but if you are an artist or someone who has an event coming up, or you have a CD or a song you're putting out, and give us the right to let everybody know about it, and we will send it in the Hub Happening. So we want to help you as a community. We want to help you, drive you forward, and help you as best we can in nurturing what God talent has given to you. Okay, so let's move on to our questions today. It's going to be so amazing. Please stay tuned.
Before we go on to our questions, though, I want to just throw some stats out. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
had the privilege of listening to a presentation from Luminate. Uh, well, they're currently called Luminate, but formerly at the time they were called MRC Data. And it was very enlightening. It was a trend spotting presentation. And in that presentation, they shared some interesting stats that caught my attention. And I just want to show a couple slides from that presentation. The first one here shows the popularity of trends. Okay. So this particular one is showing how the different genres of music have either increased or decreased in popularity. The very first, if you just to help those who may not be able to read the small print, at the very far left, they actually have the very first category was Christian and gospel music. And unfortunately, that decreased in 2021 in terms of popularity to, it says minus 0.3%, which translates, according to the presentation, to 9 million listens, I should say, 9 million streams down to listen to Christian and gospel music. The same held true for rock music, down about 9 million views. Dance, electronic, children, jazz, and Latin music stayed about the same. But look at this. There's an increase in classical music, an increase and a strong increase in pop and R&B and hip hop music. And look at the difference. It seems as though the gospel and the rock music went down by 9 million because everyone seemed to switch to the pop and R&B. So I thought that was very, very intriguing to see that. The next slide that we saw had to do with the what the popularities of music were across Canada. And so if we look at the geography here, what I thought was so helpful and so enlightening to me was that in different provinces, different styles of music really were hot. So, for example, in BC, rock music was hot. you know, in Alberta and in Saskatchewan, country music was the hot music. In on Southern Ontario, all those little blue dots, those represent rap, R&B, and so forth. All of that was really strong in Southern Ontario, although there was a couple little areas where country was very strong. In Quebec, it was electronic or dance music, EDM, really, really strong in Quebec, and out in the Maritimes, country music as well. Those really stood out to me, those particular slides. And the reason they stood out is because it really got some questions going in my mind. Why did Christian and gospel music go down in interest? And how come rap and R&B and country became the strongest in Canada? So I thought, what a great conversation to have. So I am so pleased that we have Deshaun Jones with us. Deshaun has been in the music scene forever, seemingly. he has been um, he has been in almost every position in music. That's why I say he's the music industry consultant. He can talk to you about music distribution. He can talk to you about music genres. He can talk about artists. He can talk about production. He can talk about all of it. And I'm just so glad that he's able to take the time to be with us today. Just Deshaun, thank you so much for being here. And we
Thank
are
you, guys.
excited about the conversation we're about to have.
Definitely. No, I'm happy to be here. I appreciate the invite.
Awesome. Awesome. So Deshaun, I know I just showed those stats. I hope you had a chance to look at those, but I'm just really, really curious. What came to mind when you saw that um, Christian music, gospel music, the interest seemed to go down, but yet pop and R&B and rap and all that seemed to go up? Was that a surprise to you?
Not, I was looking at the report of where it came from. Is they're talking more on a global scale? Because if you really want to take that chunk out, if you take gospel out of that whole entire equation, gospel itself within its own community didn't go down. It's always had a steady support system. But when it comes to the overall big picture, when you're going up against Goliaths of pop and country, and especially hip hop on the mainstream side, where you have major record labels and advertising agencies and brands throwing millions and millions, sometimes billions of dollars in those genres, you're going to see an influx in the listening. And the genre is just, I mean, especially hip hop. The genre, it got way powerful. It's the new pop. We always say it's the new pop genre, where pop or rock back in the days, hair rock or 80s rock or 90s rock, where rock was always steady, and then even country rock was somewhat steady. But then you saw over the years, we saw hip hop really take over and become the Goliath that it is.
And I find that interesting because it seems as though, like in some ways, it almost, like looking at the stats, it almost seems like pop just popped up, and R&B just popped up, in terms of interest. But I find it interesting that you said this is something that's been going, like it's been there. It's almost like it's been steady going along all
Definitely.
along. But why the change? Like, why do you think all of a sudden it seems like R&B and rap went up? I mean, you can't say it's the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl, they recognized it and they decided that they're going to have their what do you call it, in the middle part there, where they have the entertainment. Right. They decide to have 4 rap artists there, right? What's that called, Dale? I don't know what that's called, but the middle bit. But anyway,
the middle bit.
The halftime show.
No. It's just
halftime the middle show.
The halftime show. That's it. The halftime show.
Like
yes. But you know what I'm trying to say? It's like,
yeah.
So I'm just wondering if you guys had any thoughts as to why that sudden interest in R&B and pop came up. I mean, we could ask the same question.
I mean, let me just add.
We're
talking about geography when we're talking about the stats that were coming forth. But I'm wondering if the categories were like, for instance, when they talk about gospel, were they talking about Black gospel, or were they talking about Christian music as a genre? I got the feeling that it might be a category of gospel, and not, the Black gospel, but not gospel and that's my own inclination. But I don't know where the stats came from, because I know that some people have a preconceived notion of the word gospel music, and they think, well, it's got to be, choirs and churches, and so I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm just concerned that that's not exactly an accurate number, because there's lots of Christian music that's played on secular radio today. and
Yeah.
genres of all kinds, from rock, hip hop, and all the rest, that may fall into those categories. So I'm just suggesting that maybe you're not getting accurate numbers. That's all.
Yeah. I think that there's a might be a misconception. Hip hop and R&B and urban music, as it was basically coined, has had a steady growth since the 1980s. And the artists that you referred to at the Super Bowl, they have a long, long career of developing their fan base, their audience, developing their brand, selling millions and millions of records to get to that point. So it wasn't just that, oh, okay, hip hop just became popular in the last 5 years, 10 years. It's been gradually, steadily growing. I mean, first one you saw was when the first merger of Aerosmith and Run DMC hit.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was really
way
when it
back.
started really going into the mainstream. And
Yeah,
that was old. And that was way back.
yeah,
So, and then
yeah.
it affected not just the mainstream industry, but it also affected the Christian music artists or the faith-based artists that did used hip hop and rap as their means of getting that message of the gospel out. Just like how there was rock and punk and hard rock and country and jazz and singer-songwriter and folk. It's the genre. The music was just the attention getter. It's the lyrical content that speaks the message.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So there's
Now
always
that's
been a steady growth where hip hop was especially with a lot, especially if you're talking about Canada, when we have a lot of countries coming to live here, and they bring their culture, and they're being affected by how hip hop,
Hmm.
how the United States mass markets rap and their artists
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
those other countries that are out international waters. So when they come to Canada, they're already loving rap. They're already, they
Hmm.
already know Eminem. They already
That's
know
right.
Snoop
That's
Dogg. They
right.
know Run DMC. They
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they
I
know
get
this.
it.
They know Biggie Smalls and Tupac. They know the popular ones, right?
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Dre. That's what they
Hmm.
could categorize it. But then at the same time, it's also helped where Christian artists have fallen in love with that genre of music as well, and have grown to use it. Grits, they've been one of the mainstays. Gospel Gangsters, Michael Peace,
Hmm.
who's all across the
It's true.
border. These are some of the godfathers of people who started using gospel lyrics in hip hop rap music. So then they
Hmm.
can have something that the mainstream or the youth in the community can have something else to listen to, comparable to what they're listening to in the world.
Hmm.
So that genre just kept on becoming more and more popular, and really what it is, it's the stories. It's the stories
Mhm.
of what's going on in the inner city. Some of them are fabricated and some of them are real, but regardless or not, it still is a storytelling, and it was poetry put to beats, and the
Right.
beats were just getting more and more robust and lush. So it's been a steady climb, and it was a blessing to be able to see a lot of that happen in Canada. So it's I'm not surprised of how it's been taking over the world when it comes to mass marketing and selling
Hmm.
product, and then just being an influential vehicle.
Yeah.
You said something that was very interesting. You said that rap and R&B, all that is based around stories. I thought that was very
Mhm.
interesting for you to say that. The reason being is that's the same for country music, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
I don't know a lot of country music. I should say I know a
Yep.
lot because my husband and my boys listen to the country music station a lot. Oops, I just let
Right.
that out. Oh well, you know, but they do listen to a lot of that. And when I listen to those lyrics, it seems like they're always telling some kind of a story. Whether it's
Yeah.
we're fishing and we're doing something else, or I'm talking about whatever. Like they just tell stories, and it
Yeah.
seems like people gravitate to the stories, and I'm wondering if
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why those two styles of music in particular gained a lot of popularity in
It's
Canada.
relate.
um,
It's having the relatability. It's even if an artist sings or raps about pain and loss, they could be talking about the loss of their dog, loss of their truck, loss of their farm, but then you can
Hmm.
still relate
right.
because you lost a loved one, or you lost a
Mhm.
job. So it's just the way they sing it, and the way they perform it. It's the same way with Christian or gospel music. It's the emotion we bring in, and being convincing in regards to really projecting what we want to say through the singing and through the playing. So it's a
Mhm.
lot. It gets people. It's the stories for sure. I mean, my grandmother grew me up listening to old country and western, and she's from Jamaica, and in Jamaica, country music is very popular because of the stories. So in hip hop and
Wow.
rap and even some reggae, you'll hear it. You're gonna hear stories and songs. In pop music, if you listen to the lyrics more, some of them do tell a story. Whether again it's direct relations to the artist or they're just telling a story for someone else to hear. You know, there's secular artists that do a lot of songs of inspiration. You know, and it's not just Christian artists. You know, so it's really in how it really. That's why I say it's based on the story that they're trying to tell and the music that they choose to use. Some artists just use some simple arrangements, and some are very more lush. You know, so it's all
So
what catches
it's
the ear.
interesting. It's interesting because there's so many people who are writing songs or trying to cultivate their writing skills, and I
Yeah,
think that there's always the poetry. That's always a base of singing and or melodies with rhymes, but the storytelling is something that I think that some artists really need to grasp when it comes to forming a song.
right.
When it comes to composing, so that's I think that bringing this up at this point is actually really good because we're going to go to our first break in a little bit. But I want those who are at home right now, maybe you're a musician or someone who's cultivating their songwriting skills. I just wanted to just to reiterate what we just talked about. Writing a story is probably one of the most strongest ways, as we talked about the relativity that you can have with individuals. Whenever they hear the song, they relate to it, right? So it's like if you could use that tool in your toolkit to write a song, I think you got a banger opportunity there, right? So it's like so. Just wanted to say that before we move on. I wanted to also let you know that we have an incredible opportunity for songwriters as we put together this year, as we have done the last 2 years, a compilation CD for Christmas. And I know it's weird talking about it now, but we have a Family Christmas Volume 1 and 2 that have already been put out. And coming up this year, we're going to have Family Christmas Volume 3. And I wanted to let you know about it before we run this little promo so you can listen and check it out.
Are you writing a Christmas song? Do you want it on our Christmas CD? This year,
Is that CD going to radio?
send us your song for your chance on the CD. Submission deadline July 31st, 2022. Family Christmas Volume 3. Christmas 2022.
Now, the cool thing about these submissions, they will go on a website at with all the other entries, and there will be some consideration for radio airplay as well, depending on the quality and the opportunities that we have for you to certain radio stations, of course, because certain radio stations don't play certain type of style. So that's something that you may want to consider and prayerfully will look into in the next few days, because July 31st is coming up really, really quick.
It is. It is. I'm
I'm so
gonna
sorry.
actually roll. That's okay. That's a good question because guess what? If one person's asking it, 10 other people are thinking it, right? So,
Exactly.
so yes. What if people may be wondering, what exactly do you do with the compilation CD? And that is one of the things we actually do present those songs to the radio stations right across Canada, and some in the U.S. as well. Some online radio platforms have also picked up on what we've been doing, and we share it with them. And if they like what
Yes.
they hear, they will play it. It's as simple as that. On top of that, we put it in a format where it can be purchased. So if you want to purchase it as a Christmas gift for your loved ones or for your not so loved ones, you can do that. So that's why.
That's right.
So,
It's
so
GMIHub.bandcamp.com. That's GMIHub.bandcamp.com. You can go there. Volume 1 and Volume 2 are up there currently, and Volume 3 is coming. So just keep yourself waiting for
Nice.
that. It's going to be awesome.
That's awesome.
awesome. And I'll
It is
say
awesome.
this: if you have any other ideas of how you think that CD or that album should be promoted or sent out,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from you about it. Right? Because geography matters. There you go.
That's right.
Okay.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Good segue.
So So I did want to say this. I did want to go kind of roll back a little bit. You were talking about where the stats came from. So I wanted to reiterate that the two slides that I showed you actually did represent just Canada. They
Okay.
had in that presentation from MRC Data, now Luminate, they said that globally, global streaming of music went up 26% to 2.7 trillion streams. 108 billion of those streams were actually from Canadian consumers. So
Mm-hmm.
those stats were based on that 108 billion streams. And again, I found it intriguing, like hearing these stats. Just, you may think I'm stat happy, but it was just enlightening to open that up and realize that what was basically happening right across Canada. And why this interested me as well is because I now wanted to find out, um, from an can I say evangelistic mentality, or people wanting to relate with their surroundings. Are artists adopting those styles, as in,
Mm-hmm.
are they adopting the pop music, the R&B music, the country music, the EDM, or whatever in their areas? Are they adopting that more so to get the message of the gospel out?
Yeah,
That's
I
what I
think the
wanted to
strategy,
find out a
yeah,
little
be
bit more.
strategic about what your ministry, knowing your demographic, and it's not always easy because I think there's a matter of catching the pulse of what your community or your area, radio broadcast area is. Like you were talking about the demographic that would work for that style and what style of music would work for that. And there's a little bit of you're just selling out, but there's also a piece of you that's like, well, can I be authentic in that
Mm-hmm.
style? And I think as an artist, you have to kind of evaluate what really is something that comes from in here and say, okay, can I
Mhm.
use what I do and make that happen? So that's
Mm-hmm.
just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that
No,
makes
totally
sense.
agree.
That makes
I
sense.
agree with that. You have to be true to what you're doing. You can't. It's if you just say, "Hey, I'm just going to do rap because it's popular," and you don't really, you haven't lived it. You haven't. It's not part of you.
Hmm.
It's a culture. Hip hop is a culture. With that we in society, that growing up with that, there's a way you dress, there's a way you talk, there's your thinking, the way you the design, the way the food that you like, the cars that you like. There's so many things that are encompassing. If you like country music, you really like, if you are country music, like just like if you like reggae, if
Yeah.
you like classical, you know it. And that's where, on the business side, that's where the brands know, because they understand who their demographics are. Like what Dale was saying is, like, you should know, if you grew up listening to country and you play it, or bluegrass, or you might venture into like bluegrass and you become good at it, but yet you want to
Right.
sing for the Lord, you want to use it as a ministry tool, you want to encourage people, you want to inspire people, then go with that genre, but understand
Hmm.
where that genre is as a business. The minute you say you want someone to pay 99 cents, the minute you want
Right.
somebody to book
Right.
you at a church, the minute you want to get, you want to put your things on Spotify or anything of that nature, that's now you've taken it from your garage or your home or your bedroom, and now it becomes the business aspect. So you should understand the mainstream side, the general market, as well as the faith-based or the Christian market, as there are two demographics, but they still share the same type of data, if you want to call it,
Right.
right? So
And I
you
think
should
you're
know
only
what the mainstream is doing.
right. And you're only inhibited by your own creativity, to be honest, because
Right.
you can have it. Like I can be comfortable in 80s rock, but I know that's not going to fly in the demographic that but so what I'm taking is the concepts of maybe hip hop, which is something that is very current in the GTA. So what I want to do is maybe even, and I don't, and this is a challenge, I guess, for a lot of musicians, because they probably don't know enough about the demographic that they want to reach, their music styles, or maybe they do and they just don't know how to apply it to their music. There's a lot of processing of creativity that can go on. You can collaborate are one of the most effective way, if you're able to collaborate with someone who does that genre of music, or a producer who is in that zone and is able to take that out. If you're just an acoustic kind of uh, player, that you want to bring it into a hip hop, go to that producer that can help you bring that out. And
Mm-hmm.
and again, it's not going to be disingenuous. I think it's going to be an opportunity for you as an artist to kind of broaden your horizons and move forward and maybe hit that demographic you're looking at. But I mean, like I did say earlier about authenticity, yeah, if you're writing music that you mean to, your stories are cool, and you're really trying your best to um, do what you do to the best of your abilities, give them the glory to God, and then take it from there and say, okay, I've done what I can do. Now I'm going to take it to this producer, or I'm going to take it to this guy or these musicians that are going to help me take it to the next level.
Right.
That's right.
Agreed.
And I
Yep.
guess one other thought regarding from the artist perspective, before I change it, is that that graph. I don't know if we can get that Canada map up again, but using that alone, Dale, you said something very interesting. You mentioned about the '80s rock, and
Mm.
I didn't say this, but the other thing that was very popular was that music that was from 18 months or older was really popular too. That actually, the listen actually went up by 24%. Now, mind you, we were still in
Yeah.
lockdown at that point in
Yeah,
time.
I think
So
that's got a lot to
it
do
comes,
with it. Yeah.
right? So a lot of people were
Yeah.
probably, and this was one hypothesis that was shared. A lot of people were probably looking for some form of comfort. So the only
Hmm.
comfort they can think of was,
Exactly.
hey, those were the good old days when,
Well, yeah,
and they
yeah,
went back to their music
right,
from the past, right?
Yeah.
right. That was
And
their
other than
comfort
that,
zone. Yeah,
Also
yeah.
sharing it.
yeah,
Yes, exactly.
that's
Yeah,
Yeah. Also, like they share it with their kids. So there's
that's
kids
right.
now the retro music or the classic rock or the
Yeah,
classic
the classic
country
rock.
or the class
Exactly.
or the classic hip hop. Now
Right.
parents are
Right.
sharing
Yeah.
it with their kids, dancing with them, showing the old videos, and now the generation now is like, wait a minute, this actually has substance. This actually
Hmm.
is real musicianship because
Right. Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
my
There's
this is
talent.
just my
What?
opinion. This is just my
No, I
opinion.
agree with you,
A
man.
lot of
I'm right
today's
there.
music is just fast food. There's no
It's
substance,
totally. It's true, man.
right?
It's just
That's just my
microwave.
opinion.
I totally,
So
I
it's
totally
that's why
agree.
you're seeing now music is coming back. Like the 80s and 90s form of production and style is actually coming
Mm,
back if gradually in various genres, from dance to
mm,
hip hop to
mm.
R&B to country to you're hearing it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
okay, now and then you hear what Dale said earlier, that blend. They'll modernize it with the sound technology, but
Yeah.
it's the arrangements and all, and they'll take a little bit of that essence of the retro and mix it
Hmm.
in, which because
Yeah.
mhm,
yeah, a lot of it's just cookie cutter you're hearing nowadays. So there's no
Yeah.
substance.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me to see that classical music or retro music, especially during COVID, took a spike because you share it with your children, or as you said, you do that retro feel. You want to go back and be nostalgic, but you want to share it like that. Grandparents are sharing it with their kids, with their
Yeah.
grandkids
Yeah.
too, right? So
I think
the
it's interesting though
1940s.
during lock. Yeah, 1940s music. Yeah, it might be interesting to think that during the lockdown, artists weren't really producing anything new because they didn't do tours. They weren't trying to
Yep.
cultivate sales, right? So the chances are that people weren't hearing new music because there was nothing being put out. So they were just sitting in the music that they listened to prior to. So that probably would encourage that stats to work that way.
Yeah,
that
for
could be
sure.
it too. That could be it. An interesting thought because the old is now becoming new. I mean, think
Yeah,
about it.
this is
How
true.
many people are now bringing back CDs and vinyl?
Hmm.
Like vinyl is
Vinyl,
Vinyl.
awesome right
That's right.
now,
vinyl's huge.
you know?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if it's
Vinyl's
not
true.
that, and that with, and then there's the new thing with the NFTs, but that's a whole different
Yeah.
conversation
Oh
right
That's a
yeah,
there.
whole.
So,
What?
I have to
so
cut my son for that one.
yeah, you know. Okay, so I'm now going to switch it. Now we've been talking more on the perspective of the artists changing their music. I'm now thinking about the those who are receiving or consuming that music
Consumers.
or
Yeah.
using that music. I'm thinking of churches, I'm thinking of organizations, I'm thinking of just the everyday Joe and Joanne Blow that are listening to music, right? Especially if they are faith based, if they are believers. I wonder if they are changing how they listen to music based on what's popular or how they're
Mm.
using music. So, for example, in churches, there was a time back in the day when rock was really, really strong. And Dale, you would know this. Um, I can't remember all the
Yeah.
groups now, but in
No, but
80s rock,
they were used in commercials. It was in movies. It was like you'd hear it on scores. It would be like the thing,
Yeah.
everything. You get your Rolling Stones, the AC/DC, all this stuff. It was always in your face. Yeah, yeah,
right. But then out of that, there also became Christian rock groups like Striper
mm-hmm.
and
Striper.
Yeah,
Servant and Striper. Yeah, you know Striper. and Servant, and a few others that I don't know, but I've been introduced to. I'll say that, and I know you think I'm cute when I do that. Okay, so
Yeah, that's really
so
funny. And I think there's a few that were famous. I don't know the names.
okay, so okay, but you know what? One thing, even when I was first introduced to those names, so at least I was introduced to one name, and I never even heard their music. And at that time, I'm sad to say that churches at that time did not support them, even
That's right.
though those bands were preaching
Changed.
and singing
Mhm.
the gospel to an
Mhm.
audience
Yeah.
that didn't know God.
Right.
It's
And
changed.
it is changed, but at that time, and I'll be
Church
honest,
wasn't
as a
backing them.
young,
Yeah, that's right.
I was, and I was a young Christian at that time. And so here I was hearing, don't listen to this. I went, okay,
Mhm.
I won't, like a little girl. I'm not going to do it. And then years later, I get married to someone who loves that kind of music and he's playing it. And I'm hearing the songs, I'm hearing the words, and I'm going, wow, that's like straight up, Bible
Yeah.
thumping gospel going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who's that group again?
Yeah,
And when
exactly.
I hear it, I go, oh my gosh, that's the same group, or those are the same groups I was told don't listen to them because. And so the reason I'm bringing that up, even though that was history, is history going to repeat itself now with rock and R&B
Mhm.
and country and our EDM? Like, is history going to
Yeah.
repeat itself with churches? And they're going to say, no, you can't listen to it because it's not packaged. The gospel's not packaged the way we know the gospel to be packaged.
Some churches might. I agree with that, but I think
Yeah, it
most of the
depends on
secular
leadership.
music has really inundated church right now. So it's probably more accepted now than ever.
Yeah,
What do you think?
there's now they're seeing that the new modern worship is becoming so overwhelmingly powerful with the young adult and teen generation that they're going to allow the arrangements and the production where traditionally they would say, hey, that's too much show.
Right.
You don't need all the lights, you don't need the big sound, you don't need that big production, but it's still what the younger generation or the young adult generation they're looking at and gravitating to. Same in hip hop, same in country, but then you have certain churches that stick with more that traditional form of worship on a Sunday or a weekday, and some have adopted many years ago incorporating more the contemporary style of singing and worship during their services, because they realize that the music is just the attention getter. The music is what gets you. It's the lyrical content that is going to affect you in a negative or positive way. And when
Right.
Yeah.
I went through it when I was back in the days pushing Christian hip hop or gospel hip hop, trying to do that through a radio station. CKLN 88.1 was my first one for college, and then God rest his soul, Jim Leake gave me the opportunity for Joy 1250, to bring a positive urban program, which was all. I didn't play choirs unless they had a hip hop, R&B, or reggae style beat, because I knew that there's the lyrical content there is something that will definitely be used for the generation that is living a faith-based lifestyle, so they can be ministered to. But then there might be having the music there to be compared or be in line with what if they flicking through the channels and stumble on it and it sounds like Wu-Tang, but it's really cross movement. It sounds like some other it might sound like a rock group, but they're listening to, let's say, One Cross. So it just depends on it. It's good to see the church is 100% open, and a lot has to do with leadership. They're more open-minded. They understand the impact that music has, and how ministries are aligning themselves more and more to use it as that tool, and embracing technology and embracing where music is and what's popular, to a point where it's they're being more aware, which is really good. Because if they stuck with using music from 1970, Christian rock, and everybody's listening to 2022, they're not going to get a lot of listeners, or their listeners will be very, very narrow demographic. So
Yeah. You kind of showed your age there, my friend. You talked about One Cross. They're now
Yeah.
Manic Drive. They've been doing that for 20 years.
Yep, it shows.
Oh, that's why you're giggling.
It's like, yeah, okay. Manic Drive's doing really, really well. Awesome band, fantastic. Yeah, no, but you know, you brought up something really interesting, and my mind was thinking, there's different churches, they would be more resident with certain styles, and what Deshaun was just saying, it's not to say that gospel worship music is moving in one direction and we need to follow that trend, because I think that it's important for us to understand everybody's different. And you go to I do not ever want to take the hymns away from the church, because they are so deep and so meaningful and have incredible words, and that would be awful to do that. But if we were to say that only one kind of music is where the worship is heading, um, that's a narrow understanding, because there are so many different people, and so many different people appreciate different styles of music,
Cultures.
and different cultures, exactly. So you want to be able to be not only sensitive, but to be also let the individuals who go to certain cultures and certain churches, they're allowed to worship in a way that resonates well with them, and keeps them in the place where they can worship God in their trueness and where they come from. So I mean, I don't want anybody out there thinking that we want to push modern worship as being that's it, nothing else, because that's not the case
Mm.
here. What we're trying to say is there's an opportunity here for us as musicians and artists to embrace styles and things that are moving forward in sounds and techniques and stuff, and still be relevant at a place where the words or the meaning or the resonance with God, the opportunity to really be involved in a praise atmosphere with the mighty God, it still is important, and still can happen regardless of the style of music.
Exactly. Well said.
Awesome. John's going, I could not said it better myself.
That's Dale for you.
It's
So,
funny because I've been just as we're talking about that, I've been to different churches, and I like to travel, and then sometimes I get to speaking opportunities, and sometimes I've got a chance to sing, and I really enjoy what God's doing in the churches and stuff. But you have to really understand that the Spirit of God is moving, and we need to be where it's at. Get yourself in a place where you feel the Holy Spirit moving, and then the music style is not really a thing. It's really not. I mean,
Mm.
I was thinking about this earlier as well. Like some people, we talked about the lights and the stage and the whoop whoop and the that and the poof poof, whatever. That stuff, okay, it can be a distraction for some people. So I
Mhm.
totally get it. If you're saying, oh, it's all about the show and I'm not into it, that's fine. You don't have to be that way. But for the generation that's up and coming, they're super inundated with this stuff, with the media walls and the lights and the kaboom and all this stuff. If they don't have some sort of level that's going to be not competing, but something that's going to hit them in the same level, they're going to be distracted. And I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but they're going to be like, this is awful. I don't want blah, whatever. So we have to be very, very cautious of the fact that what's distracting to you may not be distracting to somebody else. So that's why it's important to respect the fact that what people are doing in their worship styles, and it may not be for you, and that's cool.
yeah, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. Uh,
Mhm.
I guess I look at what's like when I look at these stats, I look at these trends. I tend to think of, as you said, the generation coming up, like the you know 30s, even the 40s and down and younger. I think of all of those age groups and thinking about this is the stuff that's probably attracting them.
Mm,
And like you said, Dale, they would get distracted if they didn't
yeah.
see what they're used to seeing with these trends and these styles of music. So very interesting thought. Um, Deshaun,
Yes.
thoughts from you. I know you've said like you got quite the history with supporting artists and all that. Now, are you doing that still? Like, are you still helping specific styles of artists, or is like what's happening with you here? What do you
Yeah,
do?
I'm still definitely a lot of my focus lately, working with the Hamilton Arts Council with their BIPOC music series, helping a lot of the Black, Indigenous, and people of color who are emerging artists. and doesn't matter. It's various genres, doesn't matter. And then I'm always consistently working with as consulting, talking with different artists, as well as helping them with projects. Working in gospel still. We're Hamilton gospel artist named Katora Morris. Working with her, connecting her with a producer from the States, as well as a songwriter to help her with her first single to come out, and just helping with the process and understanding what to do, because that's what's key. I think there's a lot of artists that have a good understanding and some that don't, coming out of the church, or using their music to try to come out of the church as well as still do it, because she still does it, is giving them the understanding or the knowledge to say how they can maneuver through it properly. Whether it's directly hands-on or just giving them instructions. So I'm always actively involved in talking with independent artists, as well as working with artists that are at an emerging level or even signed to a label. So definitely.
And so what do you see, Deshaun, within those particular artists of color? What kind of styles of music are they bringing to the table?
Well, you're seeing from indigenous artists who are very very acoustic based. They have their traditional drums, they have their traditional rhythms, as well as they incorporate a lot of the modern bluesy style or rock or jazz sometimes. And then you have the black artists where they're coming from different parts of the world, where Africa or the Caribbean, where it's a melting pot of sometimes both, like Afrobeat or Latin Cuban jazz. You get them from South America, Ecuador, things of that nature. And then you have some even from we've come across where we had an opportunity to showcase a Punjabi artist who played the sitar. So it was really cool to see them gravitate and bring their culture in their music. So it's really nice to see that when we're working with artists like that.
That's very cool. Yeah, indeed.
That is. I'll be a symbol of especially the art in Canada with the indigenous
Exactly.
and I think folk too. Like the folk style also is really strong, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But yet it didn't show up on the map, but it's really there.
Well, you know what? Those unique genres of like bluegrass or so roots and folk, some country, but I'll say roots and folk, and then you look at reggae, and you look at what they call underdeveloped. Gospel is considered underdeveloped genre, and they have a steady core following of people. Where the time where they had that issue where they have the piracy and the digital downloads and then the swapping, those numbers that were hitting the mainstream didn't hit the Christian market for both black gospel and contemporary Christian. It didn't hit classical, didn't hit jazz. They stayed constant because people support it, people live it. It's a culture. They'll buy the vinyl. It's a little, it's not like they wanted to have that physical product. They appreciated the art form of what they brought. And then now we get into the pop genres, and there's a younger demographic who understand about their platform and sharing it and valuing it the same thing. That's where they're going now with the NFTs is putting that value on the art and letting people share in that value for eons.
Yes. I'm hoping to have a show on NFTs so that people understand it a little bit more. And I know we've said it a couple times. Yeah, we're all still learning, but I know it's a non something.
Fungal.
I don't know what the F to. Huh? What was that?
Non-fungal trend.
That's
non-fungal,
it. I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Token. Right.
Token.
It's
Yeah.
supposed to be and I still like even. And I thought, I still don't understand what that means, but I do understand that people are using that, and artists are using that more and more, at least in the mainstream market, to sell and market their music and get more out of it. Some of them are even auctioning their NFTs and making a lot of money out of that. So
crazy money.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to have an episode where we can actually talk about NFTs and how that's affecting the music stream and how
it's the new trend. It's the new trend of knowing how to diversify your rights, your copyrights as a creator. So it's definitely a good thing for people to educate themselves.
Just thinking about the NFTs, and I was thinking, there's not just those, but I put that aside for now. I was thinking it took my mind in a different direction. I have this rabbit trail thing which goes on. It's like, oh, shiny, So if you look at trends in style of music that's potentially moving forward in the 2023, 2022 genre. We've talked about how people are kind of sitting in their comfort zone, listen to their music. And now, do you see, Deshaun, anything that the trends that may be happening coming up in 2023, 2022, even late 2022? Do you think, because you kind of got your pulse on some of the artists that are up and coming, but what do you think that we should be looking for as a community in our Christian music or in the music scene coming up in the next year or so?
From
Based
what
on
I've
your
been
own knowledge, I'm not trying to say that you
Yeah,
know everything, but based on what your own little microcosm of life.
for sure. Yeah, it's important to kind of, I always like say study to show thyself approved type of thing,
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so what I've read before is like in regards to music coming out mainstream. I don't know about the Christian market right now, but I know what they've been saying in the general market, that they're seeing the trend of music of the 80s and 90s and 2000s kind of coming back, and you're
Mm,
finding a lot of artists like Bruno Mars of the world, things of that nature, taking that genre
right.
and bringing up that
Right.
old school R&B rhythmical
Right.
stuff where there's full arrangements
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
Gap Band, things of that
Right.
nature. And then, then that's the biggest thing that they're seeing is really is that the
Mm,
80s and a lot of collaborations.
yeah.
Afrobeat is a big genre
Yeah.
that is bubbling, coming up on more on the younger demographic overall on the pop as a pop genre. If we're talking,
Wow.
on the
Okay.
business side and the pop genre side, Afrobeat is more and more being incorporated with a lot of mainstream productions. You're seeing it more in movies. You're seeing it more in
Mm,
advertising, in sports. Same along the lines of reggaeton and heavy Latin music,
yeah.
and as
Cool.
well as hip hop
Cool.
and reggae and R&B and stuff. So in the Christian market,
Mm,
you're seeing it more and more incorporated, as a genre that's really being popular, and
mm,
even that genre from Africa just being diversified itself. And
mm,
looking at gospel music, that genre, especially in Africa, where you're getting a lot of artists over here in Canada that I've seen, you know, seeing a lot of artists being released are from either a heavy African background or a Caribbean background. But we're seeing a lot of them because what they do is they rebroadcast their live performances, or they're making their connections back home, and where they
mm,
got thousands and thousands of people that will be at a church service, and they can now stream their own version, like their own little concert from their church or from their house or from a
mm,
studio,
mhm.
and share their music now that they've created. Even though they're in Alberta, they're sharing it
Right.
in
Yeah.
Africa. So
Right.
what I've seen with that is that's where I've seen a lot of the trends now. I've seen a lot more of that music incorporated, involved
Mm,
in a lot of different things. The same way I kind of saw hip hop and rap and R&B being infused, and Latin music being infused, and reggaeton. You're seeing Afrobeat
right.
being kind of like rising up there and being incorporated in other genres too, blending it in rock, blending it in pop, blending it in dance. So that's what I've
Yeah.
seen so
Yeah.
far.
Totally. And you're making me think that if an artist in say Sault Ste. Marie has got some a real good African style song, that producing that song and releasing it in Africa
Mm,
might be the strongest way for you to get some traction. Now,
definitely.
it may think a little strange
Analytics.
for some artists, but there are people who write music for different countries or different genres that are different. Like there's a lot of K-pop stuff that's really trending within the writing community, and they're
Right.
just sending stuff over to Korea, and they're making money and they're working for a living doing their thing. But maybe as an artist, you're doing a style of music that would work better in a different, demographic, and so send it off to other places to see if it gets the traction that you want. I mean, that's
Definitely.
something that I've been just cultivating in my mindset for the last year or so, is thinking, okay, what can I do outside of my little realm of, radio, or outside of my little city, or to
Mm,
to see, well, what am my style able to resonate with that country, or what's happening here, and can I send to that radio station, off in Tibet? I don't know
right.
where your music style is, but it's something to consider.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, look at some of the bigger bands and artists and even church bands that are creating music now. Their music is
Hmm.
spreading in all these different places, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
cool. Like we get music from Australia. I mean, think about it,
Mhm.
opposite ends, of the world.
Yeah.
We're getting music
Mhm.
from them and it resonates here. And I don't know how if
Mhm.
it resonates as much in their homeland as it does here. And but it resonates here, for example. So yeah, that's a really good
Mm.
point. That's a really good point. So we've been trying to encourage artists. I'm saying, how would you encourage artists that may want to use their already or sorry may want to use or are already using their music skills for gospel in these genres? How should we encourage artists that that are using these popular styles like the country, like the hip hop, R&B, or even EDM, or what was the other one? I think those are the three big ones.
Mm.
How, Deshaun, would you encourage those artists that want to combine the message of the gospel, but they want to also use these trending styles of music or upcoming trending styles of music?
I always say it's your message is what you want to bring. The music is what to grabs your attention. So the key thing, if you're listening to the production of the music, is really important. It's knowing
Mhm.
if you're going to make your own music, work on your craft on doing that, or surround yourself around other creators of music. With
Yes.
the
Amen.
other arrangers,
Mhm.
guitar players, piano players, and then from there you can work on the craft of the basic of the songs, and then then you work on the sound. If you're listening to popular culture and pop music and pop radio, then you'll listen to a certain sound. If you're listening to it on vinyl, you're going to hear it, like listen to it in the different formats, so you know then how it's being mixed, how it's being mastered to the end where it becomes before it gets to the consumer. That's the whole essence
Mhm.
of what they call record production, is knowing what it is to make that master recording consumable. And then from
Yes.
there,
Yeah.
your story, your lyrics, your message, you record it in the best way possible within your budgetary means. And with technology nowadays and talent, there's a lot of talent of these younger artists and that are, especially, people just learned over the years because they've been home and have learned to do the programming and know how to
Mhm.
record
Mhm.
yourself and learn about the gear, learn about the
Yeah.
equipment, know the difference
Mhm.
of, because your people have different voices. Certain mics pick up your guitars certain ways. These are all different things that you'll have to learn as you're cultivating and creating your own music, and then also learn how to market it out there. Do
Yeah.
what you can to do it yourself until you get to the point where you can't handle it anymore. Then you can bring on external people, and our teams and things of that nature. And again, surround yourself around other strong people in those arenas and avenues. So then you
Mhm.
can focus on what you need to do is receiving that message, and then knowing how to cultivate it and write it, and then present it to whichever audience that you get blessed to be in front of.
Amen. I just want to just kind of want to just make sure that I'm hearing this right. You mean that musicians not only got to produce their stuff well, but they got to get artistry and musicianship well, and then top of all that, which is half of the responsibility of the artist, we have to worry about marketing. And that is a lot of stuff to do. We know, and we talk all about that in some of our videos. If you look at our
Mhm.
videos on GMIHub Online, we have incredible marketing plans. We have incredible licensing interviews and stuff that you cannot miss. You want to get a chance to go through our library of stuff on our YouTube channel right here, and you can check it out and find out all the information you need to know. And if we don't have the answer on those videos, you can also email us at the gmihub.ca. Go on our website. You can email us questions about production. And if we can't answer them ourselves, we know somebody who can answer it. So we'll guarantee you'll get an answer. All right. So thank you so much, Deshaun, for bringing that up. That's excellent, because I think that people need to hear that they're not alone in this journey of trying to figure out how to
Yep,
navigate through their music.
exactly. It's
That's
a
right.
roller coaster. It's
Yeah,
a
man.
roller coaster.
It
So you have to know how to
is.
maneuver through it. No matter what stage you're at, you should always be
Mm.
knowledgeable, of what you're doing. And the minute you want to take it out of your garage, or take it out of the moving out of the church walls.
Mhm.
When I say that, I don't mean
Yeah.
leaving the church, or your music. I'm
Yeah, what you're
talking
saying. Yeah.
expand from there.
Yeah.
Wanting to, take your message to the street, or get in, your focus might be to hit, go to festivals, or go to county fairs. Maybe you want to get your music out there that way. There's opportunities. Go to jazz festivals, go to blues
Right.
festivals, which will embrace gospel music
Right.
as a genre.
It's
Because they
true.
know that because there's a style of playing and record and singing gospel music that those avenues are open. They love that. I mean, jazz. I mean, gospel is the basics of all those. Is the basis of jazz and
Mm-hmm.
blues.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and country. Southern gospel is his cousin. So bluegrass,
Mm-hmm.
it's all there from the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah.
So it's that they
Yeah.
they understand where this music comes from, the roots, like the roots and folk industry. Those festivals are open for gospel music genres. So there's opportunities in Canada for gospel music really to be increase and receive a new audience. It's just a matter of
Mm-hmm.
making sure that it's prepared properly, for
Right.
consumption. That's the key.
Right. Yeah. And then I think I want to echo something else we talked about. Collaboration, we kind of touched on it, but tell you, man, that is an essential thing when it comes
Mm,
to owning all this responsibility to do everything. There are people that are doing it already. So if you can hook up and say, hey man, let's trade some thoughts on it. Let's table some
yeah.
concepts. Let's help me work through this. You don't have to do this on your own. And that's what with GMI Hub is all about, is unity, community, mentorship, and talent growth. And when it comes to the community, that's where you guys need to do the legwork. You got to get involved with artists who are doing the things that you want to do and learn from them. It's mentorship, man. That's what it's all about.
And find
That's
other
right.
individuals that are industry professionals that are either focused strictly on the contemporary Christian and gospel market, or are from in the general market, but you have access to them and you can utilize their services if depending on what it is. There's people out west, there's people out in the PI in Montreal that are people of faith and believers that have music industry knowledge, and either
Hmm.
do it as a business or a service, or do it just to bless. So it's a matter of finding those individuals and really putting yourself in a place to, as Dale said, as mentorship. So
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And I
That's
just want
right.
to recommend John Chisholm. You check him out. He's a great mentor. But I just think this is something that I think even the youngest artists, or when I say young, I don't mean young age. I mean you're just starting. There's so many things to learn from people who are doing what you want to do, right? So get involved in that music community, because you'll really find, and not only relationships, but you'll also find that there's opportunities for you to actually, like Cheryl and we I mean, we sing together, but it's like I sing a song, she sings a song. It's like if you have friends who do things, can I open for you? Or not, don't even have to ask. They'll probably say to you, hey, yo, I'm got a gig coming up this weekend. I need an opener. There's so many opportunities, and collaborating and working with artists is something I can go on about all day, and I feel like I have. I'll shut up now.
I was just
Ah,
going to let you all talk. It sounded good.
yeah,
It all sounded
I'm done.
good.
I'm done. I'm tapping out. I'm tapping out.
that's funny.
Well, this has been rich, and I know, short of like Deshaun, thank you so much for sharing everything that you. Actually, I don't even know if we've tapped
Mhm.
in everything. I know there's a lot
No.
going on under that hat there, you know. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about these trends and how trends could be affecting and Christian music, and how and what to look forward to coming up. And I hope that as you were watching, audience, that you were encouraged by what you were hearing, and that again, what was said before, that you don't feel pinned into, oh, I have to do a certain thing to match a trend, but see where you yourself, like what music wants to come out of you, and see where to best market that music. That was the reason why we showed the Canadian map. I guess I could have shown something about the world, you know, and because illuminate some stats related to that as well, what's popular around the world. But I focused on Canada because one of our goals here is to help build and encourage and reignite the music industry, the gospel/Christian music industry here in Canada. There is so much talent here. There are so much giftings here. There are people in the US that keep saying so there's lots of talent here, but we don't seem to know we have talent here because we don't feel like we have the support. Well, I'm here to tell you that GMIHub is one of those organizations that wants to support you. So that's why we have these conversations, so that we can share this knowledge, and that you can kind of meet some people that are in the industry, and learn from them, glean from them, and they're just an email, a phone call away. If you have any questions for Deshaun or any of the other panelists that we've had on our programs, please feel free to send those questions to us through our GMI Hub website, gmihub.ca, and let us know which panelists you want it to go to, and we'll be happy to forward that to them and have them give a response, because they want to help. This is what I'm learning so much each and every day. There are people that have I'll say they've blazed a trail in the gospel music industry, and a lot of them still live in Canada, right? And they want to share their experience. They want to mentor. They want to give. And there are others that are willing, that they really want to receive. There are other up and coming people that want to receive, and each one thinks the other doesn't want to reciprocate. And here's what I found out. Here's the secret. They do. They want to reciprocate, and we're in the middle. So we're helping you guys reciprocate. Okay. So whether you want to share your knowledge or whether you want to receive your knowledge, come and check us out here at gmihub.ca, and we will do our best to help you, to connect you, to help get your questions answered. As Dale said, if we don't know the answer, we know someone who does, because the Lord has given us opportunities to meet so many fabulous people around the world. And oh my word, the knowledge that we could share would be amazing. But I go on and on and on about that to say, again, thank you. As one of those people who shared their knowledge was Deshaun. Thank you so much again, Deshaun, for being here. You're absolutely awesome. We were supposed to have another panelist on. Unfortunately, he fell ill. So we do feel for him, and we pray that he gets better soon. And hey, if you're watching this and there's somebody else that you want to hear from, send us, drop us a line. Let us know. Hey, we'll take suggestions.
We would love to, yeah, absolutely. If you know somebody, hey, you should have this guy on your show. Tell us, gmihub.ca is the email opportunity for you. Just email us. It'd be so cool. Love to hear from you. And I'd be thinking, hey, you know what? I've had a great conversation. This has been a lot of fun. It really has. And thank you guys for watching at home. Deshaun, don't go anywhere, because I want to chat with you when we go off air. But everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Hey, look, if you want to check in what's coming in next week, Cheryl, tell us what's happening next week.
Oh, good question. Next week, I got to think which Monday it is. Oh, it's April.
First, yeah, it's the 1st. April. Cool.
Oh my gosh. It's April 1st, but
it's
not
hard
April
to
Fools.
believe. Wow. It's true, eh? Wow.
It is. You know what? I just and click and subscribe. There you go. Ding ding.
Hey, if you want to tune in next week, we're gonna have a great conversation.
We are. We are.
I love it.
It's a surprise. It's a surprise. Actually, we do have panels, but it's a surprise. You want to find out? You got to check us out. GMIHub.ca. Anyway, we're having lots of fun here, but we want to make sure that you guys can at least get your dinner. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. God bless.
God bless.
Bye.
Are you writing a Christmas song? Do you want it on our Christmas CD? This year, send us your song for your chance on the CD. Submission deadline July 31st, 2022. Family Christmas Volume 3, Christmas 2022.